Well, Kanye West has been temporarily barred from Twitter and Instagram after posting an anti-Semitic comment over the weekend.
Both platforms say the artist turned fashion designer turned controversial figure's remarks violated company policy. In the since removed post, West said that he, quote, was going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people. It is just the latest in a string of controversial remarks West has posted on social media. It's unclear how long his account will be locked. To discuss this, David Mack is here. He's a senior reporter at BuzzFeed and joins us now for more. David, can you just, first of all, tell us about the process that Twitter takes into account to lock an account? I mean, it's faster for a celebrity with that many, millions of viewers, but there's a lot of hate on social media that goes unchecked.
Well, that's right. All these social media companies have policies in terms of what you can and can't say on their platforms. Of course, they have hate speech policies as well. This tweet clearly went against that. It was clearly and blatantly anti-Semitic. What happens is usually users will report the tweet and then a moderator will review it. And of course, as you said, for high-profile accounts like this one, there's a lot of pressure to do it quickly, but also a lot of pressure to get the decision right as well. So initially what we saw on Saturday night was this tweet was up for a little bit, and then there was a banner placed over the top of it, which said that the account, this tweet rather, had violated the rules and wasn't being displayed. And then when I spoke to Twitter yesterday morning, a Twitter spokesperson told me that Ye's account had been completely locked altogether temporarily.
David, this is not the only issue Kanye has had with social media. Fill us in about another issue that was going on with Instagram.
Well, that's right. It's been an eventful few weeks for him, obviously, since he was at Paris Fashion Week earlier this month. He was warring with an editor at Vogue there. Very publicly, he was using Instagram to harass this woman, so much that Vogue themselves put out a statement defending her and kind of calling his behavior unacceptable. And then he was using Instagram he uploaded an image of a text message he'd sent Sean Puff Daddy Combs, in which he implied that Puff Daddy was being controlled by Jewish people. That was taken down. Instagram took that down. They confirmed that, and they confirmed also that they locked his account there as well. And his locking of his Instagram account appears to be what prompted him to go to Twitter. For the first time in a couple of years, he hasn't used that platform. And he posted a photo of himself, an old photo with Mark Zuckerberg, who is, of course, the CEO of Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, in which he seemed to sort of complain that he was being locked out of his account. And then, of course, not long after that, we got the tweet about Jewish people.
Yeah, and not to mention that sweater also that had been making the rounds around social media, where he had a sweater that said White Lives Matter. Twitter has been, of course, embroiled in controversy over its purported sale to Elon Musk. And of course, when this happened on Twitter, one of my first thoughts is, if Elon Musk owned Twitter right now, would Kanye be locked out? I mean, one thing that people, when they talk about free speech, they kind of don't realize these are private platforms. This is not, First Amendment protected. These companies can choose to ban hate speech and lock out its users. But what do you think, David? Do you think that Elon would allow this kind of language from Kanye on the platform?
Well, that's certainly the big question mark hanging over the entire takeover, isn't it, as well? There's a lot of Twitter users and Twitter staff as well who would like to know the answer to that question. Elon's been very clear that he believes that, the moderators have gone too far in many instances. And ironically, of course, about 12 hours before Kanye posted this hateful anti-Semitic screed, Elon Musk himself welcomed Kanye back to Twitter and sort of replied to that photo of Mark Zuckerberg that I referenced earlier and saying, welcome back, my friend. So certainly that's a big question, and one that Elon is going to have to grapple with as he potentially becomes the new boss. Will he allow something as hateful and clearly anti-Semitic as saying DEFCON to the Jews to remain on this platform?
So many questions remain, especially surrounding maybe Kanye's mental state right now. It actually seems a little unstable. David Mack, thank you so much.
Thank you.